Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into a pretty chilling 4-minute reality. Just imagine this. You walk into a conversation holding a simple, verifiable fact. Just a completely valid grievance. But somehow, literally 4 minutes later, you walk out with a psychological diagnosis, and you're suddenly the one comforting the person you originally confronted. I mean, how does that even happen? How does an honest grievance just evaporate into thin air so quickly?
Well, our goal today is to demystify that exact scenario. We're going to take the overwhelming, fast-forward tape of high-conflict, covertly abusive relationships, and we're going to slow it way down. It's time to break down the mechanics of this so-called fog and translate what feels like a chaotic, confusing argument into finite, mechanical, and totally recognizable moves.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, welcome to the fog. Second, the 4 tools of gaslighting. Third, weaponizing good vibes. Fourth, the impossible grievance clock. And finally, number 5, how to keep your reality. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. Welcome to the fog. Definitional hygiene. Now, the word gaslighting gets thrown around a lot these days, doesn't it? But listen, it isn't just a misremembered Tuesday between a couple. According to our sources, it's actually a sustained, frequent operation specifically designed to dismantle your grip on reality. It becomes the standard method used to resolve conflict. So we're talking about frequency and function here, not just one random bad conversation.
Moving on to Section 2, the 4 tools of gaslighting. Our sources suggest that these manipulative techniques actually lose their power the exact moment you can see the gears turning in slow motion. So let's look at the first tool in the toolkit.
This first move is called the confident rewrite. And here's the thing, it doesn't work because the abuser is just incredibly persuasive. Not at all. It works because a healthy, honest memory naturally has a little built-in margin for error, right? As an honest person, you inadvertently donate that margin to someone whose memory system defends with total, unblinking certainty. A defense system will absolutely always out-certain an honest archive.
The second trick identified is what they call concern as a weapon. Wow, this is a beautifully terrible trap. It essentially welds your completely accurate perception of their coldness or bad behavior to a verdict about your own mental health. It frames your valid grievance as a symptom of stress or instability. So suddenly, any attempt you make to defend yourself just looks like further proof that, hey, you're unwell.
Then we have trick number 3, the invisible jury. This happens when the conversation suddenly recruits absent witnesses just to outnumber you. The source describes how phrases like "everyone's noticed" or "even your mom said something" are used to manufacture a fake consensus. It literally forces an honest person to fold against a completely fabricated crowd. Pretty wild, right?
And trick 4 is the mirror. This one deflects accountability and actually poisons the vocabulary of therapy by turning it around and accusing the victim of the abuse. But remember this vital insight from the source? The sincere, frightened self-examination required to genuinely ask yourself a question like, am I the narcissist? Well, that's precisely the capacity the abusive structure lacks entirely. Okay, Section 3, weaponizing good vibes. Let's dive into arguably the most deniable weapon in the entire covert toolkit. We really need to understand the difference here between real and toxic positivity. Genuine optimism coexists with your feelings. A truly positive partner can just sit beside you on a bad day without needing to fix it instantly. Weaponized positivity, on the other hand, demands that your sadness be minimized or completely shamed out of the room before the day can even continue. It is quite literally an eviction notice for your emotions.
And that brings us to what the source calls the nice day jurisdiction. Have you ever heard someone say, "Can we please just have a nice day?" It's a unilateral declaration where your grievance instantly changes legal categories. It goes from being a completely valid issue about their behavior into a malicious attack on the weekend. Suddenly, the crime isn't what was done to you. The crime is you bringing it up and ruining the nice day.
Section 4, the impossible grievance clock. Now this creates a really insidious atmospheric trap. Think about it. If you can't speak up on a nice day, when exactly are you supposed to?
The result is what we call the closing window. The source material points out the actual mathematical impossibility of ever raising a grievance in this dynamic. Look at how this plays out. If you raise it right now, it's too fresh, you're being dramatic. But if you raise it later, you're dredging up ancient history, you're just being bitter. The fruit basically goes from unripe to rotten in midair. The valid window to actually speak up, it's absolutely 0 seconds wide. It just doesn't exist.
You know, you might be told you just need to let it go. But I want you to really watch the mechanism here.
Healthy release follows a very specific path: harm, acknowledgement, and then repair. But the counterfeit version described in our sources, it skips the middle entirely. It goes straight from harm to a mandatory release. So you aren't actually letting go, you're simply swallowing your pain, and it's being rebranded as wisdom.
And that leads us perfectly into the gratitude gag. This completely exposes the false idea that gratitude and grievance are somehow opposites. The gratitude gag tells you that, hey, because you have a nice house or healthy kids, you literally have no right to complain. Your pain is audited against the sum total of all human suffering and, surprise, surprise, decline for insufficient tragedy. But as the source brilliantly notes, you can be entirely grateful for your home and still be systematically hurt inside it.
If you play this out over a decade, these mechanisms create a structural casting decision. You end up getting typecast as the negative one in the relationship. Why? Well, because the abuser's negativity is usually expressed as an unquotable climate. Heavy sighs, silent moods, shifting weather. But your negativity? Yours consists of accurately describing reality out loud in actual sentences. You become the negative one simply because your words make the transcript.
Finally, Section 5, how to keep your reality. Because now that we can clearly see the courtroom and exactly how the trial is rigged, our sources advise a very specific strategy. It's time to stop attending the trial altogether. This right here is the meta-counter protocol. Step 1, state your truth boringly and state it just once. Step 2, hold flat. Absolutely refuse to debate the vocabulary or escalate the argument. Step 3, verify your sanity later with outside professionals or the original sources. And Step 4, log it always. Keep a private record to repair those donated margins of memory. You are no longer trying to win the argument. You're simply protecting your archive.
To back up that protocol, the source provides some really specific tactical judo moves. First, run the room test silently to identify toxic positivity. Is my feeling being evicted right now? Second, decline the nice day jurisdiction by calmly stating, we can talk and still have a nice day. Third, own the clock. Pre-jam the closing window by just picking a random, calm Tuesday to speak your piece. And fourth, unhook gratitude from grievance. Reject that currency conversion by affirming you are grateful and you are hurt. Both things are true.
So what does this all mean? It represents a total shift in how you keep score. Every single trick we've covered today is basically an invitation to a game that you lose simply by agreeing to play. The goal is never to win the argument because the trial itself is the fog. The only way to win is to make sure your perception actually survives those 4 minutes.
I'm going to leave you with this final, really powerful thought drawn directly from the analysis. Real positivity always has room for your whole weather system. It doesn't require your silence to stay bright. So ask yourself, if the love in your house is truly sunshine, why does it dim the moment you speak your truth? What changes when you finally stop handing over your reality? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. And remember, keep questioning what's right in front of you.